In a moment, I'm going to show you what I would consider good animation, and I want you to think of a few reasons why it's good animation. Just a few words, don't worry if you're not an animator, just whatever comes to mind immediately. This is animated by James Baxter, and was a character test for a cancelled Medusa film by Sony Pictures Animation. It's pretty excellent animation, and I can probably guess some of the reasons you thought of. It's very fluid and smooth, it's volumetric, characters feel three-dimensional and move in 3D space naturally, and it's just fun. It's got a lot of personality and life to it in just a short 17 seconds. But one of the reasons you may not have thought of, unless you guessed it from the title of this video, is that it has excellent character acting. Past the excellent draftsmanship and volumetric drawing that everyone loves animation for, Baxter is also a master of acting, even though he's not an actor. He understands the nuances of performance and imbues that within his animation. No matter the medium, live action or animation, you're watching humans just like you perform as a fictional character. In live action, that means an actor adopts that character and performs it live on camera. For animation, the logical equivalent seems like voice acting, but that's only half true, especially if a scene lacks dialogue like it did earlier. Because the person animating a voice actor's lines also needs to adopt a character and perform that character in their animation. If it's believable animation, it feels lifelike and natural. It's not in real time like it is for an actor, but they still have to embody that character in their animation. It's a performance. It's acting. If you're still not convinced, many animators will even record themselves performing their scene, so they have reference footage for when they animate. We'll talk about this in more detail later, but finding reference footage of all these animators meant a lot of research and browsing all sorts of websites, and all of that was made easier with Opera. Opera is a browser with way more features built in for productivity and organization compared to your usual browser. You can organize tabs into tab islands and even switch between workspaces, which was genuinely great for researching this video without having to save links in a document like I always did in the past. You can also avoid ads with the built-in ad blocker with no extensions needed, keep your browsing private with the free built-in VPN, and even use apps like Messenger and Spotify in the sidebar on the left of the browser. This is a little silly, but I talk to my mom on Messenger all the time, but don't really use Facebook anymore, so having Messenger built right in is way more convenient than having to navigate all the way through Facebook just to talk to my mom. And it's the only browser I know with animated wallpapers, which is pretty snazzy. All in all, Opera is a great browser if you want to be more organized and productive, so check out the link in the description below and let me know what you think. Thanks to Opera for sponsoring this video, and let's get back into it. So here's something you may not have considered. What about when an animator gives a bad performance? Animators who don't understand this principle, or don't understand their character, or just unfortunately don't have the time for it, whatever it may be. The end result, mixed with other aspects of lackluster animation, can feel wooden and stiff. It's not believable in any way. It's a bad performance. This is actually where voice acting and character acting can split. A film can have a great performance on the voice actor's part, but a bad performance on the animator's part.
Let's just see what Ricky Rhyme Master can do.
Or a bad performance from the voice actor and a great performance from the animators.
I'm gonna have to, stop you.
And when you become aware that animators have to think about this stuff, you realize they have to layer that on top of everything else, especially in 2D animation. I mentioned earlier that the Medusa animation by James Baxter was excellent for a lot of reasons. He has to be an excellent draftsman. He has to draw volumetrically. He has to understand body mechanics. But then, on top of all of that, he has to perform. You have Medusa looking confident, and then breaking that confidence into exasperation at what she just did, like she just discovered something new she can do. She's breathing heavily after exerting herself, and throws her hair back like she's ready to take on a new challenge. Then she's surprised and annoyed, but gentle when she grabs one of her snakes. You can tell she's thinking throughout, that there's a world inside her head. And Baxter animated all of it. None of that, not a single part of it, comes naturally. An animator has to understand, internalize, and execute much of what an actor does in a performance. Don't get me wrong here, I'm not saying that animation is exactly the same as acting. There are a ton of skills involved in acting that animators don't have to worry about, from speech, to psychology, to athletics, to improvisation. I should also be clear here that much of the direction of a scene will come from the storyboard artist. Animation is usually a team effort, and some of the decisions an animator makes may have come from the storyboards they were given for their scene. But beyond all of that, when it comes to the nitty-gritty performance, an animator is getting into the head of a character in the same way an actor does, and conveying that through their animation. The reason I want to talk about all this is because it's very easy to forget, I think. A believable, lifelike performance fades into the background, because that's what it's supposed to do. When you watch a talented actor perform, you forget that you're watching a performance for a bit. They become that character, and you, as the audience, become immersed and internalize that it's the character speaking and thinking, not the actor. But animation being animation, that means it's easy to forget that an animator is still responsible for that performance. The other aspects of well-crafted animation are easy to understand and point out. You'll more often see people celebrate intense fight scenes and complex camera moves as good animation. And it is, that stuff is really difficult. But an excellent performance is just as complex and difficult to animate as all those things, yet so easy to forget because it fades into the background. Instead, audiences fall in love with the character and their personality, and so the animator has done their job. But one of the things about animation that you don't realize is difficult until you actually do it is visualizing what you want to animate. Acting is instantaneous, you feel the results of it right away, but animation is a much slower process. And even then, you may not fully understand every nuance of what you're animating. There are subtle ways people bend and move and interact with the world, from the ways they pick up and interact with objects, to the facial expressions they make when talking. All that can get fuzzy on the way from your brain to the animation. And that's just acting. There's also physics involved. Everything has a timing to it, how fast or slow things move, how the body twists and bends and reacts to everything and in what order, which is especially needed for fight scenes or dancing. So, to make this process easier, you act it out. It's really common in film especially, since animators often spend weeks to months on a single scene. So it's totally possible your favorite animated movie has tons of unseen reference footage from various animators acting out their scenes. I love seeing this footage because it's so often one-to-one with the scene they animated, meaning the reference was super helpful. All the little details that they would have missed in their performance were now obvious because they acted it out themselves. You'll even notice that the animator is literally adopting the character in their scene, which I think is maybe the best evidence I have for the title of this video. But let's say you're embarrassed to record yourself. I am too. I barely ever record any reference footage for Doodly, so I get it. Well, you can always act it out anyways without recording it. Get up from your chair and physically act out the movement you want to animate. Even if you don't record it, acting out lets you physically feel what's involved with the animation, and gets you in the head of a character. It may seem a little silly, but I think it's really important to understand how your animation physically feels in order to make it convincing. Before we wrap up, I want to make one more connection between actors and animators that you may have never considered. There's a gesture that you often see in older Disney films, where characters will bob their heads side to side as they talk. This is animator Milt Kahl's famous head swoggle, a gesture Kahl would often use in his scenes to express a character feeling self-assured and confident, often accompanied by a hand on the chest. Milt Kahl was especially known for drawing solid characters at very difficult angles, either to show off or to challenge himself according to his colleagues. But I also think the head swoggle is just a part of how he performs. It's a habit, something that marks a scene as his, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And he carries it between films, adding it to completely different characters with different contexts and emotions. Is that so different from an actor known for specific gestures? Obviously, actors want to keep the characters they play distinct from one another and avoid bad habits. Having as wide a range as possible leads to better performances. But we're all human, and humans let little habits slip through that can become hallmarks of our work. Milt Kahl's head swoggle isn't a realistic movement at all. Nobody bobs their heads side to side like this while talking. But it is Milt's. It's his head swoggle. It's a part of his performance. And I just find that really fascinating. So what does all of this mean? My intention isn't to just find links between animators and actors, although that is very fun to do. What I'm hoping this video serves as is a reminder that animation isn't just about making things move. It's about understanding a character and why they move. But a character doesn't come to life by itself, so the animator, performing as that character, decides what works best to exemplify that character's personality and approach, just like an actor does. I use the word performance a lot in this video because I think that best describes what I'm getting at. Behind every animation you watch, a human like you and me is putting on a show. They are making moment-to-moment decisions that are influenced by their background, their interests, their emotions, but adapting it to fit the character they're playing as. And sometimes, the animator does such a good job, you just forget that it was ever done by a human at all. And their performance, their character, comes to life. Thanks for watching.